My dad's ex-girlfriend had a wrist tattoo and recently got a job. She was told to cover up the tattoo because it violates God's image of a woman. She tried covering it up with makeup, but they said that the different tone of the makeup made it more obvious. They told her that she had to find a way to cover up the tattoo cleanly or she would be fired. Keep in mind she works in a building where she is never seen by the customers. She just answers phone calls and writes messages for people. So she tried putting a bandage on it. They said that made the area look like she had tried to slit her wrists and told her to find another way. So finally she comes to me with this problem. I'm very petty. And all for taking things literally. So I ask her, do you have any bracelets you could wear to cover it up? She brings out this box full of the noisiest metal bracelets I've ever seen. So the next day she goes to work and both of her wrists are covered in these bracelets. You can hear her coming from a mile away. Her boss told her she could expose the tattoo. A story of malicious compliance, perpetrated by my elderly cat, Carl. At this point in his life, Carl's favorite pastime is stretching out in his spot on the couch. His spot is the middle cushion. My husband sits on the left, I sit on the right, and our son sits on the other couch because the cat's been around longer. Every time I get up, Carl stretches his back paws over my cushion and I usually have to end up moving him so that I don't sit on his paws. I just returned from switching out laundry, and as usual, back paws are stretched out over half my cushion. I said, Carl, move your paws. He slowly turned his head to look at me, then stretched his front paws out as far as he could. They had been tucked under him, and hooked his claws into my husband's shirt. I guess I should have been more specific about which paws he needed to move, not my malicious compliance but my friend and roommate. This happened in a third world country, so standard threats of suing or having someone fired don't happen as it's not acceptable on a cultural basis. On to the MC, my friend who from now on will be known as F, works at his parents' restaurant as a cook, kitchen manager. He gets clients who are rude, picky from time to time and tries to please them as much as he can, but he is known to be a bit of a pressure cooker temperament-wise. So, in comes this old lady and her friend. Ola orders a coffee. It's mid-afternoon so things are pretty slow and the order is promptly made. A server takes it over to her. As he is leaving their table she starts snapping at him saying her coffee is cold. He apologizes and takes it back, throws it out and orders a new one for her. Again a new cup is freshly brewed by F and promptly served. Again, she says it's too cold. So the waiter once again apologizes and takes it back. This time F, instead of brewing a third cup, decides to nuke her coffee in the microwave for a solid 2 minutes. As you can guess, the coffee gets to her table and the old, pretty irate at this point, says that her coffee is still not hot enough. At this point both F and the server are rather annoyed and that's putting it mildly, so F instructs the waiter to wait with him in the kitchen while he prepares her third cup of coffee. That way it goes straight to her and doesn't get cold on the way. The waiter stands in the kitchen while F prepares a standard cup of coffee, only, once it's finished he takes out a small blowtorch that is used for I believe searing some meats or desserts, and starts using it to heat the edge of the ceramic cup of coffee so that it will burn to the touch. Once he felt it was hot enough he gestured towards the waiter to take it quickly and he did. I've heard this story from both F and the waiter. Both will tell you that there was an audible sizzle when the old put her mouth on the cup of coffee. While I'm not so certain that that particularly happened, I can vouch for that the woman never complained about cold coffee at the restaurant again. I worked as a waitress for a restaurant in my hometown for over 4 years since I was only 14. I seen and dealt with a lot of not great customers, but this woman was definitely in the top 5 worst. Anyway, she came in the restaurant pretty frequently and was just one of those demanding customers. Usually, I'd try my best to meet her unreasonable demands even though she was extremely rude. She would insult what I was wearing, and didn't tip well. She always ordered the same thing, a hot turkey sandwich, the gravy extra hot. The gravy is already hot and there's no way to heat it up more without burning it or microwaving it, and if it goes in the microwave the gravy gets runny and the sandwich gets soggy as a result. So usually we just bring it to her as is. One day she comes in and this day my new manager, who is the owner's daughter, is working in the kitchen with one of the other cooks. It's my turn to take the table and so I do and she's rude and orders what she always does, but I guess today she just wants her gravy extra hot, so after I turn around to put the order in the kitchen window she gets up to follow me behind the counter to the window, nudges me away from it and yells to the cooks. She doesn't know one is the manager because I don't think she would have done so. "Hi, I'm the bee from hell and I want my gravy so hot it burns my mouth," and smiles and goes and sits back down. We are all taken aback and it's a family restaurant and there are other customers. I'm embarrassed after being shoved to the side. I go to the back into the kitchen to process what just happened. My manager is not having this. She says don't worry, I'm taking care of it. A few minutes later she hands me an oven mitt to carry out this woman's plate. The gravy is practically steam at this point. I'm sure my manager microwaved the gravy for probably 5 minutes or more. I serve it to the woman and say my manager made this just how you asked for. She's seated right next to the counter so I get to watch this all go down. At first she looks so smug. She takes the first bite and her face distorts and she spits it out as she clearly burned her mouth. This causes quite a scene. I walk over, I smile politely and say how is everything? In the fakest customer service voice I can. She says quietly and red-faced I must be having an allergic reaction or something. She doesn't touch her food for the rest of the time the people with her are eating, she's just sitting there silently. They usually get pie for dessert but this time her boyfriend just pays and they leave and go.